Hey, Mark here. I didn't think this day would come, but it's with great shame I have to announce. I have now played all the Garten of BanBan games. I thought I was gonna go to my grave never having touched one of these things. I think I could have died happy knowing I avoided it as much as humanly possible. But unfortunately that day will never come, as I've since come to learn everything there is to know about Garten of BanBan. The first lesson being that it's Garten and not garden. It took me forever to realize it was a play on the German word for garden, and since the games take place in a kindergarten, it's actually kind of clever, I'll give them that one. Garten of BanBan is an ongoing series of indie mascot horror games that for some reason took the internet by storm back in 2023. Oh my god, they've just celebrated their 2nd anniversary. I thought it's been at least 5 years of this. They've released games! Unlike Five Nights at Freddy's, Bandy and the Ink Machine, or perhaps the game BanBan is most inspired by Poppy Playtime, it didn't blow up in popularity as a result of people finding it genuinely spooky or fun, but instead, blowing up because of folks' non-stop mockery towards it. I mean, look at it.
No! Hey, get it!
Video after video describing how it marks the death of mascot horror, the concept watered down to its most generic and low quality. However, because of all this exposure it was getting, something horrible happened. It garnered an actual fan base. Garten of BanBan. Kids will eat anything up, no matter the quality.
Hey, Dion.
Oh, hi.
What are you up to?
Oh, I'm playing Garten of BanBan, but in real life.
And so BanBan, so awkward saying that fucking name. And so BanBan quickly started to set itself as a mainstay of the mascot horror scene. Part of the big three, I'd say, knocked Bandy right out of that 3rd spot. I avoided Garten of BanBan as much as I possibly could. I did not want to give it the time of day. You know, for as harmless as a 10-minute free-to-play game was, it wasn't long before the team behind it started pumping out endless sequels that were of a similar low quality. Except now, they were actually charging for them. They really didn't hide their goal with this endeavor here. Look no further than the buy merch button stuck right on the menu screen. Said team being the Euphoric brothers, a pair of brothers who got their start making small games like Introvert, a teenage simulator, and Life on a Pizza, before BanBan became the biggest thing ever, and their channel subsequently became dedicated to updating people about the franchise's expansion, from sequels to ports to merchandise, and their Twitter becoming dedicated to similar announcements, along with responding to all the hate they were getting. Just gonna bookmark this for later. It's really interesting. Garten of BanBan's creators easily could have seen the hate their project was receiving and left the internet, getting discouraged from the uproar of folks claiming their success was undeserved and nearly ironic. However, because of their persistence in pumping out BanBan games, along with supposedly responding to feedback and taking it into consideration for future entries, BanBan has managed to not only stick around, but slightly redeemed its reputation in a way. Maybe it's just because we're on game number 7, Jesus Christ, and outside interest died down, but I certainly don't see nearly as much hate for these guys as I once did as an onlooker. In fact, more than anything, I now see people come out to defend the creators, saying the pressure put on them from the internet wasn't fair given their clear inexperience and young age, the eldest of the 2 brothers apparently being born in 2002. Wait a second, that's when I was born. What am I doing with my life? I could have been a millionaire by now. Still though, none of this answers the question. Why, Mark, are you deciding to play through all the Garten of BanBan games now? I don't know, felt like it. To be honest with you, I could barely even keep track of what Garten of BanBan was for the longest time. This was definitely when the influx of mascot horror was reaching its peak, and so I couldn't keep track of what was a BanBan, a rainbow friend, or a smiling critter. They all look the same to me. But either way, join me, why don't ya, on my journey to discover the apparent appeal of Garten of BanBan, and how it's managed to stick around despite all the controversy. Sorry, this has nothing to do with Garten of BanBan, but while looking for videos about it, I got recommended this AI thing called Luigi is very ill. He needs a surgery. And I felt it was too good not to share somewhere. Watch this.
Let's play again right away. Oh, Mario, I don't feel like it. I'm always thinking about my surgery.
I thought I could take your mind of it, but I can see that time's almost up.
Please be warned, this game is super spooky. Buy awesome merch! I get what the warnings were for. This merch is terrifying! So, from what I can grasp beyond all the motion blur, the general setup for Garten of BanBan is that you're supposedly a parent coming to pick up their kid from daycare. However, when you arrive, everything is all empty and strange and stuff. And so now it's up to you to figure out what's going on and if there's something instead more sinister behind the mascots. Okay, we'll talk about these guys in a bit. That's all you really get in terms of story for this first chapter, aside from the occasional note you can find laying on the ground, which is assumed to be written by your kid, although even those don't teach us much. Other than that, the kid apparently has a sibling who's been kidnapped by a giant bird, with them going after it to rescue them. Once again, that's the gist of it. But with the overall length of this thing, you can't really expect much else. Don't isolate that audio. Obviously, the elephant in the room would have to be this guy, this girl, this... not gonna assume the gender of that thing, but they all look particularly, bad, to put it in the most simplest of terms. They all have these super basic designs that look like they were drawn by a 5-year-old, which, hey, I would at least say fits the aesthetic, but I honestly don't believe it were intentional. It's kinda hard to see these things on a Target shelf and not wonder what the average Joe thinks of the state of the toy industry while walking past a BanBan plushie. Speaking of, here we have the man himself, the presumed owner of the Garten. It's BanBan! He wears 2 party hats, that's cool. My main issue with most of these guys, but BanBan especially, is that I can't even tell what they were going for when designing him. At first I thought he was like a little devil creature, especially given the horns, before I realized it was even more generic. He's just a monster. Which I guess is meant to justify the fact that there's nothing discernible about his design whatsoever. You know, it's not like Bendy where you can tell they started with the base of a cute rubber hose demon and went from there. Or Huggy Wuggy I hate saying these names. Or Huggy Wuggy from Poppy Playtime. You can envision that being an actual plush toy some company would have made. Whereas BanBan is just, like, someone drew a vague human silhouette while trying not to lift their pencil from the paper and then just colored him red. Icon of Mascot Horror right there. It sucks too, because I actually love the idea behind Garten of BanBan, especially for a horror game. Growing up in rural Ireland, there were a bunch of crappy daycares I would see that had bootless-ass Mickey Mouse designs on them, but this just seems like such a bare-bones attempt at emulating that. To be fair, I can't get that mad at this. Like, it was probably drawn by a teenager who probably was not expecting it to have as many eyes on it as it did. But every time I see this thing in public, I can't help but feel a little bit of disgust in my icy heart. Before then following it up with, oh well, good for them, make that bank. Next up is Banbalina, quite the name. And again, get what they were going for. The Minnie Mouse to BanBan's Mickey. But when your base is this, where else is there to go with it? We got Jumbo Josh, can't tell if I love or hate him. Veering more so towards love, honestly, I don't know what it is, I think it's his giant ape hands and lack of any real expression. By far my favorite, even if I wouldn't exactly call it a good design. You got Captain Fiddles next, not sure what he's a captain of, but he's pretty much just a headless BanBan, by far the most useless seeming of the 6, but hey, he's not hurting anyone. Then there's Stinger Flynn. I kinda like Stinger Flynn. I feel like it's almost redundant for me to sit here and describe why these guys look so... bad. You know, where you're really sitting there like, oh wow, you know what, I never noticed. I'm sure it's been beaten into the grind for the past couple of years. Even worse, I have to imagine there are folks out there genuinely nostalgic for these things, which is a scary thought. And if that's the case, then I'm glad you're able to enjoy these designs. Even though they look bad. Unfortunately, though, we won't be running into a majority of these fellas throughout the first game. The only, monster, I guess, that we interact with is the last of the BanBan creatures. Is there a name for these guys? Whatever, it's this thing. A pillabird. I don't know, it's horrifying. This one at least does a good job at standing out amongst the rest, and its bloodshot eyes conveys that it's supposed to be scary. Can't say the same about the others. Overall, a pretty mismatched crew. Not sure why or how they became so merchandisable, but hey, I'm not gonna pretend to know what kids are into these days. This, apparently. I mean, it certainly couldn't be the gameplay enthralling them into this world, because really, Garten of BanBan is as straightforward and bland as they come. Big shocker, I know. Right off the bat, it's apparent that the game is much more inspired by the likes of Poppy Playtime over Five Nights at Freddy's. It's interesting to see the evolution of games clearly inspired by FNAF now receiving games inspired by them. It's like dog breeding, it gets a little more fucked up each time. Here's what we started with. The fuck is that? How does it breathe? Why, when I die, does the letter I flash on screen? Basically, the game consists of you walking around an enclosed area and interacting with different items to get further through the kindergarten. Not long after starting, you're given a sweet drone along with a remote to control it with. And so for the rest of the game, you're kind of just telling it where to go. That sounds a lot more tedious than it actually is, especially considering the total length of this thing is 10 minutes. But I find the way it tracks where to go to be incredibly annoying, especially in less spacious rooms. All you gotta do to control the drone is click on where you'd like for it to go. That's it. And be sure not to send it somewhere else by accident, because it'll take a bit for you to get the ability to move it again, as it slowly makes its way to a different area. Thankfully, they've included a button that automatically sends it back to your position, but I don't know, I find it to be really inconsistent at times. Like, sometimes I would press it and the drone just would not come back. Again, I think it's because it's too busy making its way to its previous place you clicked on, and the new command doesn't immediately override the previous. It's weird. The drone pissed me off most, though, with its hit detection. Not only would some buttons just not get pressed for some reason despite it clearly hitting it, but this thing was constantly getting caught on walls by just a couple centimeters. I know I'm asking a lot, and who knows if this little drone thing comes back in the sequels or not, but if so, I'm hoping they've at least given the player some kind of leeway with this shit. Like maybe if the drone is just slightly hitting the corner of the wall, then it'll move itself a little bit out of the way. Because it's a massive pace breaker having to continuously walk around the thing to find a new angle to click at its destination from. Especially since before doing that, you know I have to purposefully click somewhere far away from where you want it to go, so that it doesn't just continue to get stuck. I could see a mechanic like this being fun, but the game just doesn't do anything with it beyond hitting buttons. And when it's not doing that, it's giving you other sets of mindless tasks, like running around a playground finding 6 eggs to collect, to give to the bird in the corner of the room. It wasn't all bad, to be fair. I actually find it rather effective when you were required to drop the eggs off inside its mouth, forcing you to get up close and personal with it, not knowing if it's gonna jump at you. Along with having to walk right past its motionless body to get to the next area, purposefully having to face away from it and not know if it's following you. All that stuff, while not masterful horror gameplay or anything, again worked for me, certainly a lot more than just leading a drone into buttons. As a matter of fact, I didn't mind this final section at all. There's like sparks of a solid idea in here, even if in execution. Well, you take an elevator thingy to the other side of this massive room, a bottomless pit beneath you. This is not like any daycare I have ever seen. After getting to the other side, you're asked to match the colored lights to the character above it, which I thought was a great idea. You've been casually staring at paintings of these guys the entire time, and so it's clever to try and catch you out by asking you to remember their colors. Also, since you're once again forced to look away from the bird you just fed, you're kinda left on edge about what might be happening behind you. Unfortunately, this is where things just fall apart for me. After doing this, you turn to see the bird now standing on that elevator, staring at you as it slowly comes closer, which is effective. And it's pretty obvious what you gotta do too. Use your drone to hit this switch. Hit this... What? No? It didn't work. Huh. Guess I gotta go back to the elevator, maybe? The bird just stands there following you. It's weird though, it's not very clear to me what you have to do to trigger its anger. I watched this video on the Euphoric Brothers YouTube channel where he states their AI was adaptive, meaning it would only harm you if it felt that you were prey.
We decided to have it so that it would only attack you if it felt that you were prey, like predators do. For example, when you run away from it, and when you don't harm it when it has you cornered.
But I can't really tell how that's reflected in the game itself, as I find it would just attack me the second I started moving, whether or not I was looking at it. Also had a moment where it somehow killed me while it was still in the elevator. Why does it work like that? Either way, after a couple deaths, trying to figure out what I was meant to do, I realized the solution was to use your drone to hit that switch. Mine just didn't work for some reason. Sure, that's my fault. And with that, you sprint over the bottomless pit as the bird chases you, and get back inside the daycare. What? The fuck, really? An invisible wall? Okay. That's the jump scare. You gotta hit this switch first that drops the bridge and the bird along with it. And then you can go back into the daycare. Why not just have a door come down or something? Kinda destroys all tension when the game only gives you one option to progress, while blocking off any other avenue. Like if the player chose to not hit the switch, then what's the harm in letting them run back into the daycare? The bird will still be chasing them and they'll eventually die, who cares? What's weird is, in that same video, the creator mentions this, but doesn't acknowledge how strange of a design decision it is.
A. Get rid of the bird once and for all by pressing the emergency stop button. Or B. Run into an invisible wall while trying to escape and die a gruesome death.
Whatever, with that you find a secret elevator, start to make your way further down into the abyss before it stops. And Jumbo Josh rises from below before throwing you. Buy the sequel. It's interesting to consider this is the game that caused all that backlash from a few years back, especially in retrospect. Like overall, is Garten of BanBan good? No. But as a fun little project made by two teenagers, it's not like the worst thing I've ever seen. Certainly a lot better than I could do at that age. I was talking about the Postman Pat movie on YouTube. I think it was simply a case of coming out at the wrong time. Or, well, the right time, I suppose, in retrospect. Any publicity is good publicity. People were growing more and more tired of lazy mascot horror cash grabs that seemed more eager with starting a franchise than actually crafting a good game. And Garten of BanBan definitely came out at the peak of all that. But, in a lot of ways, it sort of benefited them in the end. There are plenty of lame mascot horror games similar to BanBan out there. Hell, some which I'm sure are better than Garten of BanBan. But whether it be because of the time, place, the designs, BanBan stuck out for good or bad. There was just a lot more to talk about here, which is surprising considering the credits on the menu reveal that basically everything except the bird and drone models were free assets they downloaded. And it would be easy to look at it and say that the hate was unfair as the creators probably weren't expecting it to blow up, but at the same time, they linked to their store on the homepage. They had to have known this would work in some form. Even still, despite the seemingly never-ending backlash, the Euphoric brothers didn't let it get to them. Kind of. And pushed ahead with a sequel, to be released less than 2 months later. Less than 2 months, what the fuck? But first, I'm glad this video is sponsored by Aura. This video is sponsored by Aura. Did you know over 2.9 billion records were stolen from a national public data breach? Including a person's full name, address, phone number, and even social security number. That's important. So I sure am glad I got Aura to help protect myself. See, Aura shows you which data brokers have been selling your info and automatically subs opt-out requests. They'll even get you fast fraud alerts for your bank account or if any other sensitive information has been compromised. Not only does this reduce the amount of spam you get, but also protects you from people who want to use your information to get into personal stuff, again, like your bank account. It's also this perfect all-in-one tool for transaction monitoring, a VPN, antivirus, password manager, parental controls, and way more, all for an affordable price. So stop data brokers from exposing your personal information, and go to aura.com/lsmark for a 2-week free trial, and see how much of yours is getting stolen. Again, that's aura.com/lsmark, and thanks Aura for sponsoring this video. Okay, I don't know why the first game was recorded at such a low quality. I launched it like normal, set up the scene, and then when I finally looked at the recording, tiny. Sorry about that. You know, at least I didn't spend an hour playing through it only to find out that my OBS messed up and recorded a blank screen the whole time. So, time for my second playthrough of Garten of BanBan 2. I mean, damn, they were pumping these things out faster than Scott Cawthon. And those were basic, just point and click on buttons. Whereas these are fully 3D, walking simulators where you point and click on buttons. While the first game received its share of backlash, it was nothing compared to the response to its sequel. I saw folks shitting on this everywhere. Now, this was for a plethora of reasons, from the close release between games to people checking out the topology of the models and realizing just how unoptimized they were, like the button on the drone controller being made up of 50 billion polygons. As someone who went to school briefly for 3D modeling and animation, the first thing we learned was conveying our design using as few polygons as possible while still keeping things nice, clean, and symmetrical, and that was very clearly not considered here. Suddenly, it made a lot of sense as to why the characters have these big, ugly seams randomly spread around their body with no rhyme or reason. But perhaps the biggest source of criticism from Garten of BanBan 2 came from the fact that the Euphoric brothers were not charging real money for their game, compared to the first, which was free. To be fair, I don't think it's unreasonable for them to expect money for their work or anything, but that only really applies if the work people are paying for is worth it. Although I'd argue if you're paying for this, then you already have an idea of what you're in for. Couldn't be that much of a shock. Wait a minute! This sucks! Either way, the most important question here is, after a whole 2 months in the oven, does Garten of BanBan 2 improve upon the many critiques levied towards the first? Yeah, technically. Is it really worth a whole $5? No, not really. Unfortunately, any genuine improvement made with Garten of BanBan 2 is immediately overshadowed by the 50 quintillion new issues that arose during my playthrough. To get it out of the way, the game follows up where the previous left off. You're underground and still looking for your kids, that's kinda it. You're on your merry way, watch out for the weird bridge with the moving texture. Despite this one being around 5 times longer than the first, there isn't all that much going on aside from one plot point I'll get to later. For now, I want to split up this discussion into 2 segments. The improvements and the bad. One of these sections is much longer than the other. The improvements. There's a lot more going on in BanBan 2 simply by proxy of being longer. The first relies entirely on Appeal a Bird, and while it would have been very easy for them to continue that trend and have each entry focus on a single member of the BanBan crew, there are thankfully way more monsters you have to run from this time around. There's also quite a few new characters on top of the 6 from last time. such as Sheriff Toadster, Slow Celine, and this weird blue thing we learn is called Nab Nab. Get it? Nab Nab. Honestly, I think he's got the best setup and payoff in the entire thing. You see him painted all over the walls, separated from everyone else, already implying there's something off about him, before we go to the maintenance room where we find out he's hiding somewhere within this maze. And then once you grab what you need, you have to run out of there as fast as possible while he scurries across the roof chasing you. See, it works for me here because I don't have to look at him. The knowledge that he's right above and chasing me is a lot scarier when you don't get a good glance at his model because, well, look at it. There were other moments here I find kind of unsettling too. Like when you go back into the bridge area later on and see this giant towering thing. Maybe it's because I wasn't expecting it, but I find this genuinely creepy, especially when I have to turn away from it to progress. I don't know what that thing's up to back there. It's effective. And, I thought the part with the snail was something different. I thought it was a clever design choice to have this pattern in the room it appears in. Sort of looks like a slime trail which foreshadows the eventual encounter there. Yeah, the bad. I like the encounters with Nab Nab and the snail, but I think the game really fucks up in how it completely spoils any kind of surprise that could come with their appearances. Basically, when you enter both of the rooms respectively, the game just spoils that not only they'll be showing up in a bit, but also in how to deal with them. Like when you go to the maintenance room, you follow along the maze. Take a note of the pink and blue arrows. However, when you reach the end, there's a sign which tells you that the blue ones lead you out of there, while the pink tells you the opposite. Huh. I wonder if something's gonna happen in a second or I'll have to quickly follow the arrows. Ah! The snail gets it the worst. As soon as you enter the room, there's a giant tutorial sign that visually tells you to only move when it's not looking forwards, in which it's like, oh, I wonder who's gonna show up here later. Yep, there we go. It's not the biggest deal in the world, and at the end of the day, I'd rather these be here than not so you're not dying over and over like an idiot because you don't know what to do. But at the same time, it ruins a bit of the surprise in a game genre where a majority of the scares are reliant on the unexpected. There had to have been a more diegetic way of preparing players for what's to come and how to deal with it. Saying that, what sucks most about BanBan 2, however, is, ironically, the added length. You'd think it'd be a plus, but no, this hour experience is about 45 minutes too long if you ask me. A majority of this thing simply relies on asking you to do the same gameplay loop over and over again, just with a slightly different coat of paint. And this gameplay loop is, collect items scattered across a small map, and use your drone to hit buttons. This is maybe 75% of the puzzles on display here. Massive air quotes around the word puzzles. Sadly, using the drone is just as mindless as it was before. There was exactly one puzzle in the entire thing which tried to be a bit more complicated by asking you to use these giant walls to maneuver it back into a room you can't access. But other than that, it's just hitting buttons again. And when you're not doing that, you're just walking around a map collecting a certain amount of items in order to progress. My biggest issue with this is that these are both activities you had already done in the first BanBan, and at least there it was only done once or twice. Here it's all the goddamn time. Collect goop from all the monsters in an area and place it over here. Grab money around the playground and place it on the platform. Collect seashells, collect baby birds and drop them all the way over here, and you can only hold one at a time, so you have to fucking walk back and forth for 5 minutes, you fuck. Like, it doesn't matter what way you spin it, this is fundamentally the same mission over and over again. Although, I don't know what I'd prefer more, because every new gameplay mechanic they have here might be worse. Except for the parkour. I got that on my first try somehow. My years of playing Minecraft parkour on Saturday nights has finally paid off. Like, there's this part near the end where you have to play a game of picking up fireworks and placing them in whatever cannon is aimed towards the glowing red button. Do this 3 to 5 times to win the round, and then repeat that part 3 times in order to progress. If you mess up at any part of a segment, it resets and you gotta do the round all over again. Boy, it sure is good the game doesn't employ hideously long moments of downtime where you're not allowed to pick up another firework, and so sometimes you'll pick it up, go to the cannon, and realize the game didn't detect you picking it up, and before you can go grab another, you've already lost and need to do it all again. Sure is good they don't do that! Dude, the worst shit though, the absolute low point of this game was the school segment, where you're lured into class by Banbalina, who gives you a series of 3 lessons to get through, each interrupted by fetch quest segments on the same map. It is torture. I get the joke. You have to answer asinine questions by assuming which tape deck on the table would have the right answer. Like, sometimes it's completely reasonable. She asks an insanely tough math question, play the tape of the really smart kid. Easy. But then, they'll purposefully try to catch you out by asking these obtuse-ass questions with no obvious answer. You just gotta guess what you think will have it. Which would be funny if you didn't get an immediate death for getting a question wrong, and now I have to listen to her repeat the entire lesson over again. Some of this dialogue goes on for like a minute, and it just becomes painful having to sit through it all over again, in the hopes of guessing right next time, because if not, you gotta sit through it all over again. And God forbid you get the last question wrong, now you gotta go through every question over again. Wonderful. This part is horrible, seriously, only made more annoying through the horrendous voice acting.
Oh, wait, I made a mistake. I think that's lesson 4 of the day.
I like that when I tried to look her up, find her page on the Garten of BanBan wiki and saw the first line read, "She's presumably a voice actress." Not that I can really blame her, it was probably just the creator's friend or something. But the voice acting in this game is consistently taking me out of whatever sense of immersion I could have possibly had. I will never forget the absolute jaw-dropping experience that was witnessing this for the first time.
Oh, come on. I didn't hit you that hard. Or maybe I did. Either way, it's best you take a nap while I prepare for our little surgery.
Apparently this is one of the brothers doing the voice, which makes sense. I guess they probably didn't have money for voice actors at the time. But I didn't expect BanBan to talk at all, never mind in a weird French-Canadian accent.
I am so happy to see you. And I need your help on something.
That's like having me voice BanBan. It would just be weird. 3 birds with 1 stone. You know, BanBan can talk, as he kidnaps and eventually informs you that he can help you find your missing kids after heavily implying Stinger Flynn is the true big bad, who's keeping them captive. The notes you find throughout the game, as well as the monster extraction segment, also heavily hints towards the BanBan company using the kindergarten as some sort of front to experiment with creating monsters, but something has gone horribly wrong and everyone is dead. They clearly want to present BanBan as some kind of untrustworthy character though, so who knows where things will go from here. The game ends on a high note though, in theory, as you're locked in a room with every monster about to come out. Again, it actually managed to make things kind of tense since we don't actually see how stupid they look. But with that, you escape through a door as Bambolina and Jumbo Josh chase you. Hit a switch which causes him to grab her. Sweet, it worked that time. And once again, you find an elevator, sending you further into the abyss. Not much of a cliffhanger that time, but whatever, I'll take it. Garten of BanBan 2 should be the better game. It's way longer, has more monsters for you to interact with, and much more variety in terms of gameplay. Its main issue, though, is that each of these editions are absolutely atrocious. Sure, the first is short as hell and super basic, but because of that, it never gets the chance to become annoying, whereas this one just takes the loop of the first and makes you do it 3 times over, while sprinkling in a bunch of other shit for you to slog through too. I feel like kind of an asshole ranting so hard about it because I don't think this was a result of laziness like a lot of folks were saying at the time. It's like I said with the models. It comes off more like a lack of experience than anything. Like, did Garten of BanBan 2 warrant the amount of backlash it was getting at the time? Nah, not really. But that doesn't make the game good. It was just the new thing to hate at the time. But to be fair, the creators were not helping their kids, getting mad and blocking anyone on Twitter who made fun of them, which only gave them more incentive to do so. There was also a big discussion around the time pertaining to folks playing the game in full while streaming or making a video about it, and then using Steam's refund feature to get your money back. Basically, if you've played a game for less than 2 hours, you're eligible for a refund. And with the second game being around an hour and a half long, people find it justified and kind of funny to refund the game immediately after beating it. Something which the devs commented on themselves, calling it outright scummy behavior. I suppose there's solid arguments to be made on both sides. On one end, if you're given the game an insane amount of exposure through videos, then refunding it isn't really making much of a statement about not supporting it, is it? Whereas on the other end, like, maybe don't charge for a game if it's only an hour long with no replay value whatsoever. But my take is, people can do whatever they want with their own money, simple as that. And it's not like they were losing out on much with this. The average Mascot Horror fan isn't even playing the games if we're being honest. They'd rather watch Markiplier go through Garten of BanBan than play it themselves. And so BanBan was undoubtedly making most of its revenue through merchandise. Posters, keychains, action figures, plushes, you name it. Of course, a fair amount of people were more than likely buying this stuff ironically, but shit like this doesn't start appearing all over Targets and Walmarts for the lulz. Kids were eating this stuff up. And with the second release, for good or bad, getting way more attention than the first, there was only one logical course of action. Dude, it's taken me like 3 months to sit down and play these games. I wanted this video out in January. A whole 2 months after the release of the second game, and we've already got Garten of BanBan 3. If you're not keeping track, that's 3 games within the span of 4 or so months. Don't these guys have to go to school? This is where any inkling of BanBan knowledge I have goes out the window, which already was next to non-existent. However, where I was at the very least aware of BanBan 1 and 2, I had no clue they made more after that. I just assumed people took the obvious route and stopped giving them more money. But what do I know? More money means one thing: the ability to actually invest in improving the quality of their franchise. The ability to being the operative word. And so let's take a look at Garten of BanBan 3 to see if it improves upon all of this. Menus are still broken. Not a good sign. They've been using this same start screen layout for each entry so far, and it's always pissed me off. Because I want to go into the options first of all to make sure the game won't blow my PC up. A genuine fear. These games make the thing scream for its ever-loving life.
It's dying!
But the options menu is always overlapping with the main stuff. Not the end of the world, I suppose, but like, you're 3 games in. Whatever, things pick up right where we left off as you open in this new hub area, with a cable car that can take you to one of 4 sectors, with BanBan apologizing for his actions in the last game. You know, I think so much of the criticism levied towards these things would have been alleviated slightly if they just called each entry another chapter like Bandy did, instead of acting like it's this whole new thing. Either way, he suggests you head to the aquatic sector to find the creature he thinks can inform you of your kid's whereabouts. Fuck BanBan though, we gotta talk about the new characters. New game, new batch of creatures we'll presumably never meet. We haven't even met all the characters from the first one yet, never mind the second. Where's Sheriff Toadster? Where is he? I swear Garten of BanBan has more characters than the goddamn Marvel Cinematic Universe. Off the top of my head, I recall running into portraits of Queen Vincilia, Mr. Kebab Man, Tartabird, and who could forget Nabnalina. Huh? Thankfully, we wind up running into a good 3 out of 4 of these guys. Pretty quickly, too, as we... Hi. To talk about the story first, what little of it there is, this game marks a major shift in tone from the previous BanBan games, in that the creators are now aware that it's a joke. They do not shy away from presenting these characters in a more comedic light, and if I'm being honest, it works completely. There are actually moments in here that got a genuine laugh out of me, as you enter these hallucination sequences where you're laying on a beach with Stinger Flynn, or riding in the back with BanBan and Captain Fiddles, as Flynn and Appealabird ride in front playing tunes.
Fila, what do you think about this?
This was 100% the right move, and undoubtedly made a lot of folks more forgiving towards the more unpolished aspects of these games. But, if I were to be a bitch about it, and I do love to bitch. 1. There's way too much dead space between lines. Like, there's a good 5 or so seconds of silence between characters talking, and I don't think it's intentional. Really drags things out at certain points. And 2, okay, once again to preface, there are a couple of kids probably coming up with this shit on the fly. There is no way they were gonna make some horrifying masterpiece that defied everyone's expectations. And so not even attempting to is smart. But at the same time, it's hard not to see it as an admission of defeat in a way. Like, they don't even want to bother getting you to try take this seriously anymore. Cannot stress enough, smart move. But can you imagine a world in which a Garten of BanBan released with like the most blood-curdling, terrifying, spook-defying atmosphere and story? Well, you're gonna have to imagine it because it's not gonna exist. Anyways, that's all I have to say about the story as of now. Not much goes on until the end, which I'll talk about later. I was initially worried that on the gameplay side of things, BanBan 3 was going to be a shameless repeat of 2, given that it's just a shameless repeat of 1. But no, there's a surprising amount of variety on display here. Whether or not said variety is good, though, remains to be seen. There's this moment I actually enjoyed quite a bit that took advantage of what little mechanics there are in these games. You walk into a room and see Nabnalina sitting on a bed as BanBan informs you that they created her assuming Nabnab's aggression was a mere result of his loneliness. He just wanted to fuck, I guess. They never got the chance to finish the surgery that brings her to life. And so to get Nabnab off your back, you've got to now take matters into your own hands. By fucking it. By finishing Nabnalina. This is done through a pretty tense segment where you have to create the correct serum to give her. You're given a set of 3 colors and have to combine them to try and make whatever one is necessary for her creation. Do this a few times and you're done. Only issue is, you also have to keep a track of a couple other things happening inside the room. Namely, these buttons that'll turn red near the roof, and these pipes in the corner that will start turning different colors as well. When the buttons go off, grab your drone remote and hit them so they go gray again, and when a pipe is anything other than green, go and grab the tool that allows you to shift them back. If you leave any one of these things in disarray for too long, you're screwed. It's genuinely tense and fun to manage, even if the segment isn't without issue. Specifically how long it sometimes takes for the new formula to appear on the monitor, and the still not fixed issue of the drone just deciding to not hit the button sometimes. If that happens a few times over, you're screwed, as good as dead. Should've remoted better, I guess. Still though, I had a good time with this part, probably the best of the entire thing. Which is weird to say, as this is the same game that lets you play as Stinger Flynn. Oh my god! That's right, there are 2 select segments where you're graced with the opportunity to play as a character who can do more than just walk and jump. Huzzah! Now, you have a slightly higher jump. Yes! You're also able to shoot out projectile thingies, although that's primarily used for pressing buttons. And by primarily, I mean that's all you're doing. That's right, despite the prospect of a new playable character seeming like the perfect time to do something. One Stinger Flynn segment consists of pressing buttons that move around as you try to shoot them, and the other is a repeat of the canon game from BanBan 2. It's like they're new. Thankfully, it's a lot more straightforward with you not having to use the cannons at all this time, but all things considered, it's just a chunk of the last game repeated. And still not fun. I actually didn't mind this moment where you're stuck inside a room with Bambalina, as Jumbo Josh routinely checks in on you. You have to quickly try and find a way to escape while he's away for brief moments. They also give you a pretty generous amount of time to get back into position before he returns too. Issues once again arise when it comes to the requirement of making sure everything in the room is exactly as you left it by the time he comes back. Which for the most part's fine. Again, you're given a lot more time than you think you'd have. And I appreciated Bambalina having lines telling you specifically what was off that resulted in your death. But this one single area, these 4 colored blocks, were consistently a nightmare for my first few tries. You have to click on each of them individually to remove them, and click on them again to put it back. However, you need to make sure the colors have the exact same placement each and every time. In theory, it's not hard, but it took me a couple tries to remember the weird way in which they go back into position. It's very easy to lose track of things and die as a result. Still though, not too bad. I'm surprisingly not hating this as much as I thought I would. Garten of BanBan 3 also marks the first game to have a boss fight, coming in the form of this weird, 2-headed chameleon thing. And boy, if you're wondering how Garten of BanBan could possibly handle a boss fight, then get this. You use your drone to push buttons. One of the heads will shoot out these giant balls at you, but I honestly did not know what they were meant to do. Sometimes they'd hit me square in the face, but bounce right off and disappear. I had no fucking clue what was going on. This leads to the worst moment in the game, in my opinion, where you have to pick up 2 BanBan party hats dropped by the boss, and put them on Mr. Kebab Man, who you then have to direct over to this appealing, who you then have to direct over to this baby bird. Appealing. The goal being to use it to trigger the Tartarbird, do these names. Trigger the Tartarbird above you, and as it comes down, jump on its back to tame the thing. Issues come in having to press E on the bird as you land, which sometimes just wouldn't work, as the game bugs out and plays the jump scare animation below me. Wouldn't be the biggest deal in the world, except you then get sent all the way back to the end of the boss fight. Have to run over to grab the BanBan hats again, put them back on Mr. Kebab Man, and once again lead him over to the bird, listening to this the entire way there.
Behave or get BanBan. 3 stones with 1 bird. Hand over your pancreas. 3 stones with 1 bird. Hand over your pancreas.
Still though, I got it after 2 or 3 tries and made my way to the final segment of the game, where Stinger Flynn informs you that BanBan had only ever been after your pancreas this whole time.
Oh, I know. Someone has given you false hope.
I don't know why I'm doing this, I think I was bored, and has since turned into this weird demon thing or something. I had no idea what was going on at this point. There's a slight reference to the fact that you may not solely be doing this to get your kids back, that you have some other connection to this place. But that's probably going to be explored in BanBan 4, or 5, or 6, or 7, or 0. What? BanBan starts chasing you in a moment that seems like it should be a lot more challenging than it actually is. Appealabird has got to be in front when the light is pink to open the door, and you got to be in front when it's cyan to open the door. So it's a matter of riding the line, making sure you're far enough in front to evade BanBan, but not too far so Appeala can get in the lead when necessary. It just sucks that BanBan is the slowest motherfucker I've ever seen, and never gets anywhere near close enough to be considered an actual threat. And so with that, I guess, he, Jumbo Josh, Appealabird, and Stinger Flynn all get in a big fight, allowing you to escape as you head further down the place with your I fucking hate that name. The only thing to be considered a cliffhanger here is a whiteboard that reads, "Find the kingdom, find the sheriff. Do not let the jester find you." Could it be? Are we finally gonna meet Sheriff Toadster? What are we waiting for? Joking aside, Garten of BanBan 3 is a genuine improvement over the other two. It's without a doubt the best in the trilogy, mainly due to it not repeating the same two gameplay segments over and over again. It starts a little slow, especially with that canon game being reused, but after that, picks up in quality a lot. Is it a good game? No. But it's the best one, and I can only really see that as a good thing. Who knows, maybe by the time Garten of BanBan 47 comes out, we can have something halfway decent on our hands. Garten of BanBan 4 opens in a fairly unique way for the series, us catching a glimpse of what appears to be Castle Gates. And boy, does this go from 0 to 90 in an instant as we're immediately getting chased down by the boss from the previous entry, before finding an all-new yellow remote. Whoa. But of course, you wake up in a room with who else but Sheriff Toadster. Good to see ya, buddy. Turns out I was right to want to see him so badly, as he's one of the few characters we've met so far that's actually nice, taking you inside the castle to meet Queen Boncelia. Right off the bat, there's an overall feeling of increased quality I felt playing this opening. Not graphically or gameplay-wise, but I don't know, I just couldn't put my finger on it before finally realizing, oh shit, there's actual music now! Seems like the brothers have gone out and hired a composer to make this medieval tune that plays while you're walking around the hub world. And while in any other game it wouldn't be noticeable, here it really made me appreciate how much music plays a role in your sense of immersion. Especially now that we have actual voice actors who all do a pretty decent job. Although now that they're hiring actual voice actors, it does lessen the chances of me achieving my newfound dream of voicing a character in Garten of BanBan 8. I would have done such a good job too. Look, Euphoric Brothers, if you're watching this. And I know you are. Just take a look at my audition. 3? DM me for real. I really liked the more self-contained story we've got here, as we're informed of a battle looming over the kingdom. Mainly in relation to this new guy we see painted on some walls. Apparently his name is Bittergagel. Another character whose name I don't want to repeat. She enlists the sheriff to help you set out and retrieve 3 parts to fix the elevator you came down on, giving you an incredibly clear structure that paces the game out incredibly well. Go to an area, complete a segment of gameplay, grab the part, then put it back on the elevator and talk to the queen. If there is one annoyance that comes with this structure, it's all the goddamn backtracking you gotta do. Each time you get a part, you have to walk all the way back to the hub, which can take a couple minutes. God forbid you forget something like I did, missing the keycard I was supposed to pick up from the queen after reaching my destination. It's like when you sit down and realize you forgot your phone in another room. It's not the end of the world, but like, you'd rather not have to get up again, right? At the very least, they do usually provide you with some story along the way, but that only made me pissed off because of how this game handles pausing. In that it doesn't. Oh, you pressed the pause button because you wanted the game to pause? Well, too bad. The characters are gonna continue walking. And don't worry, they'll keep expositing the story even while you're paused still. Like, I want to hear more about these characters and their war, but I have to pee! Wait a second. Am I engaged by a Garten of BanBan story? What the fuck? Year 1 is pretty simple to obtain as you, the sheriff, and your appealing enter a room filled with vents, in which you can pick up the bird and approach them slowly. They'll let out a sound if they detect a creature within them, and you're given a lot of leeway with how close you can get before being attacked. I'd say there are just 2 major aspects bringing the segment down, the first being Sheriff Toadster getting way too close for comfort. His hitbox is giant, and so when you start to move backwards, you'll always be stopped and have to awkwardly move around him. And the other is that it's way too long. There's like 10 or 15 of these vents to get past, and it doesn't get any more challenging as you proceed. Segment 2 sees you be reintroduced to BanBan. In fact, a lot of the monsters from the first 3 chapters are making their way down to the kingdom. He apologizes for his actions at the end of the 3rd game, claiming he has no control over what's becoming of him. We even see Stinger Flynn being held captive down here too, who once again sends you into this hallucination sequence, where you're sitting at a campfire after the car crash from last game, before BanBan gets attacked by... Is that fucking Choo Choo Charles? Wait, why do I know what that is? I guess this implies the existence of other mascot horror games existing in the same realm as BanBan. The FNAF crossover is growing ever more possible. This leads to one of the weaker segments of the game, where you have to once again go back to the tried and true formula of using the drone to hit buttons. Although this time they expect you to take advantage of their strange detection by purposefully leading it to a destination that results in the button getting hit on its journey. Also, caused my game to crash somehow. Before we can obtain the part, Mr. Kebab Man gets taken by Nab Nab, and so we have to watch in horror as BanBan and him have a fight to the death. So scary. With that, an ashamed BanBan informs us to go on and grab the final part without him, in which we arrive at by far the longest segment in the entire game. At first, we have to play this game, which sounds infuriating, where we see a set of 4 rooms, each with a specific set of scenery. Once the game starts, each room goes black for a bit, and when the lights turn back on, we have to figure out which room has had something change. Do this 6 times and you're on to the next area. I find it fun. Not much else to add. After this, we're lured into a giant arena by Bittergiggle, where we're met with this giant dinosaur creature that's like, I don't know, a fox or something. This boss fight is incredibly simple, but I'm not sure if it's because I was playing this at like 4 in the morning or whatever, but it took me like a good 15 or so minutes to beat it. There are 4 buttons on the floor. Pressing one lights up the screen? Whatever, sure. After a few steps, the dino will start rushing towards you, in which you have to lure it into whacking its head. Do that for all the screens and you're sorted. I think I just kept getting impatient, trying to get everything on the first cycle. The second I slowed down and took the long way to the next button, instead of dashing straight to it, I beat the thing easy. Definitely the better of the 2 boss fights we've seen in the series thus far, even if it is much less ambitious. It's just too bad that right after we find out this was a mere trick by the blue and green one. I hate saying his name, who, with you trapped, is going to finally enact his master plan, making the queen laugh, which apparently will unleash whatever evil is residing in her pouch. Not even Sheriff Toadster was safe! I wasn't expecting Garten of BanBan 4 to make me cry. Bro tells her a joke, the evil is unleashed, but before they have the chance to get to you, the sheriff returns, thank Christ, joining you and Stinger Flynn, I guess, as you jump on the now-fixed elevator once and for all, and like clockwork, head further down into the abyss. Seems like next game will be about trying to find the Queen's scepter in order to put a stop to all the madness, but even if it's not a direct continuation, I was pretty satisfied with BanBan 4. I think what I appreciated so much was how self-contained the story was. Sure, elements from the first 3 entries are carried over and expanded upon, such as us learning BanBan's real name, Uthman. Not what I was expecting. But from start to end, there's a solid through line. The pouch is set up early on along with the Jester, both of which pay off in the climatic finale. Really, there's not much to complain about. I mean, who knows, maybe I'm just growing accustomed to all this. Like, if this had come out as BanBan 1, you bet your ass I'd be shitting on the visuals and gameplay and stuff, but I don't know, instead of looking at it like that, I'm able to see it as an evolution. The brothers slowly improving their storytelling and game development skills. Is it a good game? No, not really. Ignoring all the improvements, it's still a mechanically simple walking simulator for a majority of the thing, but that doesn't mean I didn't have fun with it or can't see the sparks of something good in here. The story also going in a much more comedic, less scary direction, sure does do a good job of making the way these games look feel a lot more intentional. It's not, let's be real, but who knows, maybe it's growing on me. Maybe I'm going insane and by the end of this I'll have a gun to my mouth. But hey, they sure are committing to this idea and expanding this universe, and I guess I can't help but respect that. I honestly didn't have as much to say about BanBan 4, probably because so much of the game was backtracking, but it's without a doubt the best of the bunch so far, and I hope to only see things improve with. Okay, well this is awkward, but it seems as if Garten of BanBan 5 does not exist. And not in the same way as FNAF World, where they put it out, realized it was shit, and then removed it. I mean, if that were the case, a couple of these things would have been deleted already. But no, as far as I'm aware, they just skipped to BanBan 6. Not sure if this is some avant-garde level of storytelling or whatever, but BanBan 6 it is! Last night, I had a dream a Garten of BanBan character had snuck into my house and was trying to kill me. He looked like this. BanBan 6, once again, picks up right where the last left off. Even more reason to believe that, for all intents and purposes, they could have just called this BanBan 5 and everything would be right with the world. Seriously though, I tried to look around for answers and apparently it's rumored that BanBan 5 is planned to be a prequel or something, but at that point I don't understand why even bother calling it that, especially now that BanBan 0 is a thing. Either way, it's stupid. I wouldn't be surprised if they just never release it to play into the joke of it all. You know, I sure do wish I could tell you what the setup for this game is. However, I made the silly decision of having a life. And so when I got a phone call and, paused the game at the start, I gotta watch as Sheriff Toadster exposited a bunch of info I will never learn. At some point, he started screaming that something is happening and that we gotta run, but before I could even get back to my keyboard, apparently everything just was fine again. Just pause the game, what's so hard about that? I eventually met up with him in front of this giant door, where I caught on to a couple details. We're attempting to get inside the door as that's where the scepter is, although we need to find and press 3 buttons scattered across this floor in order to do this. One problem though, surrounding you is nothing but darkness where the naughty ones are hiding. They're the things that escaped from the Queen's Punch at the end of last game. Luckily, I was able to quickly upgrade my drone by climbing up to this hidden area where I... The fuck? Okay, sure, I want to ask questions about whatever the fuck that thing was. This upgrade gives your drone a light at the bottom, meaning you can tediously direct it to wherever you want to go in the darkness. Yes! One word of advice for this game more than any other, turn up your brightness because I could not see anything in front of me at first. It was pretty unplayable. I've come to realize the past couple of games I've looked at became a lot more focused on me just recapping what's happening in each segment, but that's mainly a result of those first couple entries being so focused on repetition. You know, there's no need for me to talk about each individual time you're expected to pick up a series of items, or press a series of buttons, whereas now there's a greater effort to have some variety, even if just a little bit. But for now, I'll keep things contained to talking about the process of getting those 3 switches and what interesting stuff happened along the way. I really like this hub area. It's a lot more contained compared to 4, which was so massive that it made backtracking a chore, whereas here it works as a neat way of seeing your progression throughout your time trying to find all the buttons. Each time you come back, something has changed as we get to see other monsters show up to seek refuge, such as the Kittysaurus and Stinger Flynn, who once again gives us this wild hallucination sequence. I think this one might be my favorite out of the lot, as we're all sitting at a bus stop waiting for our ride. I love how overly drawn out it is, it's so mundane.
The bus is here.
Finally.
Ignore that. It's not the correct one.
Aw, man.
Unfortunately, the gameplay this time around I find a lot more hit or miss, only really elevated through the find the 3 buttons structure. This and 4 are games that thankfully don't feel their length nearly as much as BanBan 3. Bitter Giggle plays a much bigger role this time around, which I'm also thankful for, as he's definitely one of the strongest characters here, even if I can't listen to him without imagining someone doing an impression of Sun from Five Nights at Freddy's.
I know it doesn't make up for what I've done and trying to take you down, but I'm sorry.
The first segment we do with him is probably my least favorite in the whole game. It was very reminiscent of BanBan 2, where you're stuck in a room and have to press the scattered buttons in a certain order. These colors on the walls correlate to the couch pattern, and so you gotta press each pattern in order to light the colored bulb, which reveals some text in the dark. It would be forgettable, but fine on its own, but they make you do this 3 times for each of the colored bulbs. Same situation, just a different order, as if someone couldn't read what the message was saying without all 3 colors. I just can't tell what it says. I mean, that's basically all you end up doing for that first button other than a small chase away from the naughty ones, who we finally see in all their glory. They look like the slugs from Flushed Away. Not what I was expecting them to look like. I always pictured they'd be baby kangaroos or something, but whatever. They're the main antagonists this time around. Was surprised they didn't do more with Sheriff Toadster, who immediately feels betrayed at the sight of you working with Bitter Giggle and runs off to rescue Banbaleena after she's taken by a naughty one, never to be seen again. R.I.P. again, Sheriff Toadster. I'm on your side. This main character's fake as fuck. You head towards the next area on your lonesome and tackle some tedious button-pushing puzzles when... suddenly BanBan! I can't fucking figure out this guy. Other than at the end of 3, he never does anything to directly harm or mess with you yet. I don't know. He's got this certain aura around him. Just like today's sponsor. You then have this incredibly underwhelming segment where you have to do this pushing puzzle. I appreciate what they're trying to do, but there really needs to be more here. All you gotta do is figure out a path for the BanBan statue to get towards the lights, moving Mr. Kebab Man out of the way to make room. But this was piss easy, there was no real thought to be put into it. I got each of these first try by just winging it. Yeah, I beat Garten of BanBan 6 block pushing puzzle first go. No biggie. For some reason, the second one you have to do is even easier, involving way less Kebab Man. But even then, it was only marginally. The gameplay for this part definitely took a backseat in favor of the story, where BanBan gets attacked by this giant naughty one, and Bitter Giggle has to step in to protect him. With this, it's now just you and him as you approach the final area. Five Nights at Freddy's. I mean, that's basically what this is on the most fundamental level. Bitter Giggle has got to take down the alarm or something, it's really not important. And so while he's doing that, you have to keep an eye on which areas the naughty ones are appearing in, and shine your light on them before it's too late. They give you so much time before your inaction results in your death. And so all you really need to be doing is paying attention to whenever the big one comes down from the top, in which you have to press a button to get rid of them. Would be fine if you didn't have to run all the way over here to activate the top light, as it only has one use before dying. It's a very hectic segment, one that took me a while to complete, mainly due to me trying to gauge how long I could leave any given enemy for, and it got super fucking annoying each and every time, as every retry means listening to the long-ass rules again. But honestly, it's probably one of the stronger moments in the whole package. You know, I had to think for a second, that was new. Finally, the final switch involves battling against this giant bird boss after we jump into an abyss, and what we have here is quite possibly the greatest boss in Garten of BanBan history. Meaning it's just okay. You're required to pick up objects that are in the line of sight of the bird. Once it sees you, it swoops down to grab ya. So it's a case of getting what you need and then going back as quickly as you can. I can never tell what the mandates were for the bird to grab you. Sometimes I'd go to an area that was blocked by trees, from the bird's angle at least. And even after running back to safety, I would still be killed. But like the dinosaur boss, if you're willing to be patient, you'll have no issues. Although weirdly enough, it's another moment where the second phase is easier than the first, as it begins with you having to grab 3 items out of your reach, but in the second phase, it's only 2 and then the boss is done, revealing this bird was none other than a mutated version of the baby bird. With this, you get back to the giant door by beating this platforming puzzle, where each button you hit rotates one of the blocks 90 degrees, you having to try and not get knocked out. But once again, I got this first try. Hold the applause. It's time to finally grab the scepter when you notice there's a piece missing. Oh fuck! It's an all-out wars BanBan injects Nab with the same serum as the bird, turning it into a monster, fighting with the dad naughty one. You can tell he's a dad because he wears a tie. It's time for the climax, as you run to the elevator, but not before being confronted with...
And this is where they realized that everything they have...
Sorry, could you speak up? He's built an army of all your... friends? As BanBan sacrifices himself so you can continue on your journey, yet again falling deeper into the abyss. Whoa. This was without a doubt the best of the series so far. I was initially a little fearful that 4 was just a fluke, but no. This improves upon pretty much every single aspect of it. Good game? But if you're already done with BanBan, I can imagine this was a big deal when it came out. In fact, it's games like these which I think ended up resulting in Garten of BanBan's reputation being somewhat redeemed. Not in any major way, the vast majority of folks still see this stuff as slop, but I'm positive the slight increase in quality seen in each release caused some people who were maybe more ironic fans of the series checking in on each entry to laugh at whatever dumb thing is happening next. Perhaps find themselves becoming slightly more invested in what was going on. Am I invested? I'm having fun, and that's all I'll say. It certainly helped that the Euphoric brothers were lightening up a lot more when it came to folks making fun of their series. Guess they finally realized any publicity is good publicity. But with that, we're about to reach the final mainline BanBan game, as far as I can tell at least. The one after is called BanBan Zero, and so I'm picturing it as a spin-off or something like that, prequel maybe. Who knows, they skipped BanBan 5, so maybe it is the real BanBan-y. Or, I guess at that point it would be BanBan 7 technically, but the next game is BanBan 7, and oh fuck it. So far, I've been pleasantly surprised by the Garten of BanBan series, and I want to clarify, not in an ironic way either. Like, maybe during the first couple games a lot of the elements within it I find funny. There's no denying that the series blew up so much to begin with due to some kind of ironic enjoyment out of it. So I want to make it clear, at this point when I say I'm having a good time with these games, I mean I'm having a genuinely good time, even if I can't acknowledge their many flaws. Speaking of, Garten of BanBan 7. There's a fog effect now, whoa. This game has a setup I was initially very put off by. You're trying to find the surgeon on this lower level as all the monsters not under mind control are roaming around trying to kill ya. I say put off as it really felt like going back to square one. You've spent this entire, franchise slowly getting each monster off your back one by one, so having them try to kill you again just felt repetitive at first. However, the more I progressed through the story, the more I find myself actually really liking this setup. I started to find it cool that, in a way, this is what I thought the first game was going to be, a situation where you have a confrontation with monster after monster as you make your way through an area. It made the game a lot more fun to traverse, going from segment to segment, anticipating what creature is going to show up next. They get a lot out of it too, us eventually running into the chameleon boss, Nab, Bitter Giggle, the birds, Bambolina, and probably more I can't remember off the top of my head. We pretty quickly run into the surgeon who wants to experiment on us, before we end up saving him from a naughty one and he therefore agrees to assist you in your journey, even providing you an upgrade for your drone, finally. He has this giant underground city, probably my favorite location in any of these things. It's filled with these Givanium creatures he's been creating. At least I think he's been creating them. They called him their dad in the last game, so I don't know. For some reason, the surgeon and some of them talk with what I can only assume is a Northern Irish accent, so I feel represented. But then some would talk with completely different accents or in a different language altogether. It got me really off guard and made this little world they all live in a lot more charming. As you go on a wild goose chase around the town trying to find Jumbo Josh, with the surgeon believing he's the only one who can defeat Sir Dadido. You go into a motel, a restaurant filled with racists. You find out Sheriff Toadster's been living down here too. I love how straight it's all played. I really like that a lot of the humor in Garten of BanBan is not pointing out the absurdity in all this. Quite possibly my favorite moment in the game took place during this segment, where the sheriff sends you off to investigate, in which the guy inside the motel will only give you what you need if you stop the guy upstairs from screaming so much. Then you go up and he's just pointing to this hole in the wall, staring at you. I find it really funny. Until Bitter Giggle slowly comes out, wanting to attack you. You get a really great sense of claustrophobia here. You've never been trapped in such a small room with one of these guys, and so you gotta run out the fire escape, leaping from rooftop to rooftop, before you make a leap of faith, and Sheriff Toadster's there to save you. Sheriff Toadster's there to save you. Sheriff Toadster's there to... Sheriff Toadster's there to... Thank Christ. As he comes to attack, Toadster throws one of his stars at him, turning Bitter Giggle back to normal, but... oh no. He's dying. All you can do is stand and watch as Toadster mourns the loss of his friend, who he hated in the last game. I was surprised they attempted to actually try and make the player feel something here. It made me realize that, for some reason, I have some level of attachment to some of these characters. Helps that these two are easily my favorites from the franchise, and so, I don't know, I was kind of invested. I mean, look at his little frown, how could I not be? Look, just picture me saying, why? Why? I foreshadowed it earlier, but my biggest problem is that to get here, you have to go through that awkward as hell chase sequence. I kept dying on this first jump and not knowing why before I eventually turned around and saw that Bitter Giggle's arm was consistently clipping through the wall, which means every time I'd jump and turn, I would brush against his arm and get an instant death. And with Toadster, you know, maybe this is my fault, but I had just assumed I could jump over to him, and he'd grab me within a certain range before 20 deaths later, I realized I had to press E as I jumped over. Before another 20 deaths later, I realized you specifically have to press E on his face, not his hand. This segment took me like 20 minutes. There are a couple gameplay additions here I really did not care for, despite how cool in concept this sounded. The drone upgrade you're given, for example. You're telling me I can control the drone in first person? That's brilliant. I sure do hope it doesn't control like shit. Oh no, I hated using this. More so than just using the drone normally. You press shift to lower it and spacebar to raise it, but it's way too easy for it to get caught on shit, and sometimes it would just give me an error sound effect and shoot it back to a different position. Originally, I thought this was after you hit it against too many objects, but no, it just started happening at random. Super fucking annoying. At the very least, you're not expected to use it too much, but either way, I hated it. Everything else, though, I find to be rather fun, even if not very hard. There's a matching game with Banbalina, a massive improvement over her teacher segment from BanBan 2. The whole part at the theater with the Trojan bird was cool. And everything inside the final area was great, such as running away from this strange blob creature while trying to hit these buttons with your drone. Sure, using the drone is still annoying, but it's the first time they're forcing you to use it under such stressful circumstances. If you miss or it decides not to hit the button, you gotta run all the way around the tables again to make sure you don't get snatched. Eventually, we get a sample of Josh's blood, which the surgeon believes he can use to lure the real thing. With this, they get Sir Dadido right where they want him revealing a bit of information that questions the integrity of all these guys. Him implying the only reason he is the way he is, being a result of the other monsters throwing him under the bus for something they all did. No matter though, as Jumbo Josh comes to attack him and his army, they knew how epic this was, so they put you in a box that's spinning around the entire fight so you can soak in how awesome as hell it is. Whoa. With this, the evil is defeated. But not before Jumbo Josh eats the scepter, causing a massive explosion. You wake up in a room with Stinger Flynn and the surgeon. You notice this weird character standing behind the mural of BanBan, and despite the surgeon's warnings, start to peel it off, revealing,
"Never play with the devil. Doctor's orders."
And that's BanBan 7! Wonder if we're going to solely focus on BanBan's equivalent of Shadow the Hedgehog next time around, or if they're still going to say what's been up with Queenbind Celia, since that was the whole motivation of getting the scepter in the first place. But either way, I'm happy to say, the BanBan games have only been topping themselves since that third entry. I genuinely liked this one. There's a level of ambition here not seen in the others that I appreciated a lot. Whether it be the gameplay, graphics, or presentation, BanBan 7 was a good time, and easily the best game in the series. I am shocked. With them advertising BanBan 8 at the end and not BanBan 0, I'm only more confused on what to expect from that game. So let's just get it over with and see what's up with. Fun fact, this video took me so long to make that a brand new BanBan game managed to come out during production. Either I'm really slow, or they are still pumping this shit out at an insane rate. I don't want to spend too much time talking about BanBan 0, mostly because it's the second shortest game in the series. The others tended to take me around 2 hours to beat, whereas this one was over and done within an hour. Not that I'm bothered by that fact, especially since the Euphoric brothers made the respectable move of releasing this one completely for free. Nice. Initially, I thought this was, in some ways, a sequel to BanBan 7, since we wake up in a room clearly being some sort of test subject. We also see the surgeon at some point. But the more I played, took in context clues, more importantly saw these designs, I finally realized, this is BanBan Babies. Yeah, that's right, who could have guessed a game called Garten of BanBan 0 took place before the first game? My mind is blown. Blew my mind more than all their incredibly subtle references to other indie horror games.
Hey there, I'm 6, your neighbor. Suppose I can say hello, neighbor.
Oh, bro. There's a couple new features here too, most notably a little icon above each character's head, showing what they are in relation to you. Your goal at first being to try and make friends with everyone in the enclosure, although from that point on its inclusion feels a tad needless, as it doesn't do anything for the rest of the game. This is all at the request of BanBan, who despite telling you to make friends or to play hide and seek with everyone, seems a little frustrated at how much cooler you are than him. I really enjoyed this whole first half of the game. It's much more of a straightforward puzzle game, picking up different items and trying to figure out how they can assist you in becoming friends with different members of the enclosure. For example, help out this blob creature to get an A+ paper, which you can then give to baby Bandolina, in order for her to have a higher opinion of you. Like I said, we even see the surgeon briefly. Based on what he said in the past game, I believe that he was helping out the humans in creating these monsters. I don't know, I'm not even gonna pretend to be following along. That same night, BanBan wakes you up, wanting to show you something, followed by new character Truffle Toot and eventually Baby Nab Nab. You head into a back room with a massive door, needing to find an extra person to help you guys press the buttons down. This is where you run into Baby Bittergiggle, being experimented on while chained to a bed. After you help him, along with him eventually finding Baby Kittysaurus, you all press the buttons down to see what's waiting for you. Seeing Nab Nab come up and give you a hug before this made me laugh out loud really hard. That was really funny. Behind the door is a giant Mr. Beast logo, who hunts you and BanBan down. Eventually, after BanBan kills it, he decides you guys are gonna play hide and seek one final time, leading you inside a closet, with the instructions to never come out until you're found. Wait a minute. This whole time you've been playing as Shadow the Hedgehog, BanBan? Holy shit. That was a really clever reveal. I was not expecting that. Really helped the whole thing come together and give us a greater understanding of how these different monsters interact, as well as their lives before everything went to shit. Also makes it clear that, yeah, BanBan is kind of a villain, locking you away out of pure jealousy, which also implies that this blue and yellow BanBan might be a good guy. That, or being locked away for so long will instill some sort of revenge plan on his part. Either way, even if I don't have a whole lot to say, BanBan 0 was great, one of my favorites from the series. Production quality has also seen a massive increase, in terms of sound design and animation. There are actual idle animations. It was strange seeing these characters move. And that leads us to where we are today. BanBan 8 comes out soon, presumably in a couple months. We'll probably be at BanBan 10 before the end of this year. And with that, this video will immediately become outdated. It's my perpetual curse. Overall though, I've come out of this video with something I never thought possible. Respect for Garten of BanBan, the Euphoric brothers more specifically. Yeah, sure, those first couple entries were pretty bad, and their excessive merchandising seemed as if they were only in this for the money. But in the end, they're kinda living the dream. At such a young age, they've gone and created one of the most recognizable gaming franchises of the 2020s. Recognizable in a good or bad way? It's kind of irrelevant to me at this point, because what I did focus on the more I played was the genuine improvements that came with each entry, even if it was baby steps. But they could have easily rested on their laurels, knowing whatever shit they put out would satisfy their audience, but instead they've been making strides to improve their series, and I definitely don't think that's worth overlooking. It's a tale of persistence. They could have easily given in to all the hate they were getting and turned cynical over it. And while it did appear that was the direction things were going, they clearly snapped out of it and were willing to take themselves less seriously, which only seems to have made their fanbase grow. I mean, we are now at a point where the official upcoming Garten of BanBan kart racer, aptly titled karting of BanBan. Genuinely looks better than the official upcoming Five Nights at Freddy's kart racer. Also, aptly titled 5 Laps at Freddy's. Couple of jokesters over here. So hey, at the end of the day, all I can say is, my hat's off to you, Fork brothers. Congratulations. Can I be in the next one?